We call on our paternal ancestors.
The African connection with yoga, and that we can actually break it down and demystify it.
Yeah, it's a pretty deep question even from the beginning to even ask that one, because we're really talking about the brain.
We practice a vegan lifestyle, but it was considered vegetarian.
Kemetic legacy is part of their legacy, part of their ancestry, and that, the first scholars, the first writers, artists, mathematicians, scientists.
The first 100 years of this third millennia is the century of a consciousness awakening to who we are.
Just wrap my mind around the reality of that statement as being very accurate.
We eat from the foods that the Creator has brought up through the earth, which is a vegetarian diet. And in this diet, and with this breath, we have the power to have physicals that are remarkable throughout our lives.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. My name is Omiale Jube, and it is my honor to open this portal of communication to bring forth this awesome production. We begin by pouring libation to soften the ground, to call forth the spiritual energies to join us on this day. We begin with calling in the one, the all, by any name you choose, divine source, the creator. We welcome all of the spiritual energies to join us today, all those that have our highest good in mind. We call on the Netaru, the Orisha, the archetypes. We call on the ascended masters from all the cultures all across the world. We call on the angels of 100% pure light across all time and space. And we call on our ancestors, those upon whose shoulders we stand. Please join me in calling out their names. We call out our maternal ancestors. Call their names. Our mothers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers. We call on our aunts and our sisters and our nieces and our friends. We call on our sheroes. Call them out. Call out their names so they can hear you and join us today. We call on our paternal ancestors. Call them out. Our fathers and grandfathers and great-grandfathers. We call on our uncles and brothers and nephews and our heroes. We call out the names of all those known and unknown that come before us. For we are our ancestors and our ancestors are us. We call on the energies of the East. We call on the energies of the West. We call on the energies of the North and the South. We call on the energies from below. Mother Earth, asking her to bring up her energy from her crystal core to join us today. We call on the energy of the sun to shine down upon this production and stimulate our melanin as it continues to grow the essence of life. And we call on the energy from within. We ask for blessings for this production. We ask that this production travel far and wide, that it may fall on the masses, the hearts and minds of the masses, so that their ears may be open to hear, and their eyes may be sharpened to see the vision, and their minds open to new horizons, and their hearts warmed to take in the knowledge, embrace the truth. We give blessings to the producers of this production. We give blessings to all of the participants, the panelists, and to all those whose hands came together to bring this production to fruition. It is our time. As we come into this new time, this new age of Aquarius, this new cycle, we go back to the future, back to our ancient knowledge, back to our ancient knowledge. It is time. It's time for us all to rise. Mother Earth is rising, as she rises to her rightful place as a fifth dimensional planet. May we all rise with her. Rise from within. And with that, in the ancient tradition of Mother Africa, I would like to ask permission to officially begin the production. So to all the elders out there, may we have your permission to begin. And please join me in saying, Ashe, Ashe, Asheo. Sante Sana.
Today I'd like to dance the spectrum and say my black prayer in the sunshine. In spiritual celebration and without kneeling, I know my God can hear me. Bathe me in sunshine and sing my melanin song. I am black today and grateful, for this is no small blessing. I have a promise to keep, a harvest to reap, an entire world to beautify. There is nothing here beyond my grasp, no depths below my reach. The stars before earth sang my song and have given a world to teach. Today I dance for all things spiritual, within my soul divine.
Chapter 3 focuses on our spiritual and physical self. The phrase, know thyself. That's something that we will strive to do until the day we take our last breath. We should always be evolving. In Chapter 3, we are embracing the fact that the power of the word, the way we speak, and the way we think, it helps to create our realities. So in this chapter, we are reminded of that.
We teach that we have a physical body, which is composed of various organs and systems and muscles and bones and so on and so forth. And we also have an energy body. And that energy body is composed of its own set of organs and systems. So those energy body is non-physical. You can't see it on an X-ray or MRI. But we know that this energy body is very powerful. In fact, the physical body is an extension of this energy body. And so the physical body only exists as a consequence of the energy body. And so that means that when a person becomes ill, that's because of the fact that there was a blockage in the flow of energy in the energy body, in the subtle body, the spirit body, that resulted over time into a physical ailment that we would put a name on, like heart disease or cancer or a tumor or whatever it is, but all illness, whether it's physical or psychological, psycho-emotional, is a result of a blockage in the flow of that life force, a blockage in the flow of this energy. And so when we practice yoga, our intention is to allow energy to flow, to unblock the energy. And we know things like negative thoughts, stress, also cause blockage in the energy.
You're going to believe what your parents told you, or you're going to believe what you see, your experience is what are you going to believe? Because what you believe is then quality to this creative machinery you have. The machinery is designed and operated to manifest what you believe.
We have an understanding that there are two opposite forces, two primary opposite forces that operate in the body. They're the same two primary opposite forces that operate in the universe or operate in the earth. We call it electric and magnetic. You can use the terms yin and yang. You can use the terms masculine and feminine. But our attempt is always to be balanced between those two energies.
When you're supposed to be in alignment with your destiny, if you're not getting there at the time, we all have an expiration date. And we all have a destiny that was chosen from us from the beginning of time. And time was when we, our own selves, decided that these parents are going to be our family. You know, that this is the life that I'm going to live.
Melanin come out there as you heat it up. That same pigment is the same organizing kind of molecule that's internally in your body. So it becomes a tremendous substance that is very important for keeping our bodies in tune with the universe. You got something called dark matter in the universe. It organizes what the planets and how the whole structure of our cosmos is together. There's something called dark energy that kind of makes the universe expands, getting bigger and bigger as we grow. But the dark matter, just like in our body, it's an organizing molecule.
For a long time, we've been in a shift, a major shift. And as we experience it, solar eclipses, we experience all these different things that's happening in and around us, we're not really clear that these things are affecting us, affecting our DNA, affecting the way that we think, the way that we move, the way that we connect to spirit. We know that something is happening, but we don't necessarily know how to identify it.
Know thyself is the matrix. You know, once you go into self-exploration, that is knowing yourself. And the more you get into self-exploration, the more you involve yourself in self-cultivation practices, then the deeper and more profound unveiling of that which is you becomes obvious and evident to your consciousness, your conscious mind. And then you go in and you look at what needs to be shifted, manipulated, eradicated, expanded. You know, you have a much greater perception of what constitutes you as a being.
Know thyself is a phrase that represents the understanding that this is the temple. The Creator gave us this temple, and we have to know how to ignite the power within it, maintain the power, sustain the power, and multiply that power.
Some of those temples above, it says, of the doorways, know thyself. So in that context, it's about who are you? You know, we can fast forward that to psychiatry today and African scholars, people like, Frantz Fanon, because asking the question, who am I? Am I really who I am? Am I all I ought to be? So in the context of knowing thyself, you don't know who you are. You're pretty much walking around as nothing.
We all have our gifts. We all have our powers and our strengths. We, don't know where that comes from or look in other places to get the answers that can't give us the answers because it doesn't coordinate with who we are and where we come from, why things look like this, I feel good. I want to, I'm spiritual. I'm happy. I'm religious. I'm not religious. And I think that's the other part of it too. A lot of people choose religion over spirituality and don't really know that you have a spirit inside of you that is what works with you. That's how you're connected to those other sources, those other realms that keep you. Your ancestors are the spirit guides.
And no problem can be solved at the level of consciousness in which it occurs. And this speaks to an ongoing demand for us to always develop and expand ourselves, to always be growing. And in that growth process, we're always ahead of the game, whatever the three-dimensional game may be. We're ahead of it and we can figure it out.
I mean, just think about the reality. What are we here for? Are we here just to be by ourselves in some little corner? No, we should be here to serve people. We should be here to be in a context where we're living amongst people, not isolated by ourselves. So knowing thyself puts you in the concept of knowing your position on this planet. So once you know your position, now you can have an impact on what? Changing the world.
Most people don't understand how the body works, even on a physical level. Most people can't even name or show you on their body where their liver is, where their kidneys are, where their pancreas is. And so we don't even know basic anatomy, let alone spiritual anatomy. So spiritual anatomy is like, where are the chakras? Where are the energy channels, the channels, the meridians through which energy and life force moves in the body?
If you don't know yourself, guess what? You're now being manipulated. Someone else telling you what to do. That's why the whole philosophy of understanding who we are by eating the right foods, keeping the right mental balance in terms of our thoughts. When you don't do that, you're never going to know yourself. That's why the media becomes very, very integral in terms of destroying us, because the media is what outside input. Ears, eyes, you're seeing all that. That means you're tuning out of self. You need to turn the TV off, turn that radio off, focus on self. So when you tune in to self, guess what? Reach a higher stage of consciousness.
Sometimes people tell me, well, I want to do what you're doing, but you got to do what you're supposed to do. Each individual person has to sort of realize, like, what is their mission? What is your spirit guides telling you? That's what I discovered. I have these spirit guides, and they communicate with me. When they communicate with me, I listen to them. When my ancestors speak to me, I listen to what they tell me. That's something that many of us don't have that trust in. That we don't even trust our intuition. We don't trust the information, the messages that we're receiving from the other side. And that we have to learn how to trust. We have to learn how to trust that and to follow that, and to create our own path, because we all came here for a purpose, and we have to discover what is our purpose. Self-actualization, actually putting into action that which we know. So you have to know what is your true nature. So you come into the world, you got to know what your true nature is, that you have this power. And then you got to put that power into action and actualize it and create the life that you're supposed to have. And so that's what we try to do.
Words have power, and I'm sure people have heard that term but really don't know what that means. When you speak something into existence, there's an energy that makes it be. And I didn't learn that until early adulthood, that the more you say certain things, the more you're manifesting it, or we're manifesting it. I wanted somebody who can be on a journey with me, and I had to say it. It wasn't enough to keep it hidden inside of me. Whenever I spoke to people, I would say, this is what I want. This is who I'm expecting. This is what I want to manifest for myself. And then I realized you can have all you want as long as you're ready to accept it, you're ready to receive it, and you continue to prepare yourself for it. Words do have power. You have to be very intentional about what you say. Even when you wake up in the morning, be grateful you woke up. I think most times people wake up and the first thing they say is, I'm tired. All day long, I'm tired. You hear it all day. It's become second nature. And then people wonder why they're tired all the time. If you tried to turn that around and say, I am energized. I feel wonderful. The sun is bright. It's beautiful. I'm feeling good. I have another day to try to be a better me. The more you tell yourself that, the more you believe it, because you believed you were tired when you said you were tired. So why can't you believe that you're great if you tell yourself you're great? It's not about being conceited or cocky. It's about trying to galvanize the energy you need to be the better self. Every day you have an opportunity to improve yourself, so why not do it?
The Human Genome Project was an international scientific research project with the goal of determining the base pairs that make up human DNA, and of identifying, mapping, and sequencing all of the genes of the human genome from both a physical and a functional standpoint. In 1972, Dr. Georgia M. Dunstan became the first African American to receive a PhD in human genetics from the University of Michigan. Dr. Dunstan was also the only African American in the first group of scientists in the Visiting Investigators Program at the National Center for the Human Genome Research Institute.
Certainly, genomics has
made it very clear that human origins are rooted in Africa. When we look at the genome of humanity, doesn't matter where you pick, where you're looking, what part of the world you're looking, the genome bears witness to what I like to say, the brotherhood of mankind. And yet the genome has flipped our whole superficial knowledge of life around and shows us that humanity is rooted in Africa, and that the first man created, fashioned, and as a modern human that we are using as our model for modern man. The genome traces it back with evidence to Africa. All the other groups, all the populations in other continents, from out of Africa, as we say, portions of humanity populated all the other regions. And the genome bears that out. So first of all, if the genome spoke in our language, first lesson it was that all this foolishness you have about racial groups being distinct and having characteristics as racial groups, when you look at the genome, there's no sharp line. There is no sharp line. That all of these differences represent the wisdom and the power of this genome to adapt us to wherever we found ourselves. This genome you have, by virtue of each of us being here today, bears witness to the power of the genome in our lineage to adapt us to wherever our forefathers traveled. All the information for making every part of the body, all of that information is already, I like to say, loaded in, because we live in the computer age and we can use language programmed in. It's all comes fully loaded. The genome comes fully loaded with all that is needed for the physical body. It only takes, I like to put it this, it takes less than 1/10, yes, 1/10 of 1% in humans, and I'm saying that we see, because I'm talking about the differences that we use to distinguish ourselves, usually based on continental origin. The differences we see in our superficial characteristics, skin color, hair texture, anatomical features. And the next level is if you consider what it takes to make all the parts seen and unseen, so everything outside and inside, we get up to about 2%, 2.5, but let's just round numbers, 2% of our total information accounts for what we see. I like to equate that with the seen part. If that be the case, then what is the rest of our genome about? Most of our genome is really information about the invisible part. So the genome is very sacred to me personally, because it is certainly about our identity. In fact, that is the message of the genome. It's about who we are. It is about who we are. We know that at a superficial level in terms of our genes contain the code for expressing our identity. And we even use this genome to search for our identity in this whole area of ancestry testing.
think about it. What gets me excited is we haven't really yet even begun to delve into what the genome has to say about our destiny. All of the excitement thus far has focused on the present and the past. But most of this genome has information about our destiny. Well, each of us is a unique creation. Genomics as a science shows us that. Each of us is unique, and we have each been fashioned and put together in a way that will allow us to discover. Because that's like self-discovery to me, the part of genomics. Self-discovery is it's like God saying, just for you to find out, to discover what I have made in you is so awesome that just for you to know who you are as my creation. And that's the future that I would love to be able to have that being at least discussed and taught. And we have to talk about it before we then get into, okay, well, what's the science behind how we get to know how to access, how to mine, if you will. So knowledge is one thing about it, but now you know that you are naturally created because you're made in the image of God. Now that you know you are spirit beings with phenomenal, with supernatural power. This is your inheritance. This isn't something you got to go to a particular school to get or live in a particular part of town to have access to. This is who you are. This is your essence. This is loaded into your genome for self-discovery and self-discovery for being able to be all that we are created to be. And so it is true that we were talking earlier about hearing your inner voice. Just think about your genome sitting tucked inside every cell of your body, waiting to hear what you want to say. And when you tell it who you are, then it knows how to bring all the machinery that it has to give expression to your word, for the word to become flesh. It doesn't make any judgment about what you choose to say or what you choose to believe. It's the spoken word, what you say. So who, black people, who are we going to consciously choose to say, I am? And when we move into that way of thinking, all that we have been, certainly in terms of the history books, it pales in comparison to all that we can become. And that's the future that I would like our students and our generation to that the genome is saying, you haven't seen anything yet. You getting all excited about your ancestry. Hey, this genome is about your destiny. It's all that's already preloaded. You made in my image. You are naturally supernatural.
My motivation is just to really inspire, to bring light, to bring awareness. And that's my motivation. I really want to see those around me uplifted and moved into a place of consciousness that is of a perpetually spiritually enforced design of being in it, but not of it.
Variation is broadest in African people. We must be involved in this science. I claim the science for self-discovery and self-discovery for being able to be all that we are created to be. And when we move into that way of thinking, all that we have been, certainly in terms of the history books, it pales in comparison to all that we can become. And that's the future that I would like our students and our generation to that the genome is saying, you haven't seen anything yet. You getting all excited about your ancestry. Hey, this genome is about your destiny. It's all that's already preloaded. You made in my image. You are naturally supernatural.
My motivation is to know more today than I knew yesterday. I love education. I love, I've been going to school for so many years. There was a point where people would tease me and say, all you do is go to school. I have my bachelor's, my master's, my doctorate, and now I'm getting a second master's, focusing on public health. And I love it so much because it's so much different than what I've learned before. So it gives me an opportunity to learn a completely different field. So the opportunity to learn, to grow, and to share the information that I have with others, that motivates me. The opportunity to help people feel good about themselves and to know that we didn't come from a downtrodden, slave race. That's not who we are. That we are so much more, that we are so much greater. Every day I learn something new, and I'm grateful for what I learned. So my motivation is education and teaching and learning and producing the best form of myself.
My motivation is to, one, stay alive, and two, get my freedom. And my freedom to me means being able to do what makes me happy. Kemetic yoga makes me happy, not just practicing it for myself, but teaching it to other people. I'm motivated because it feels good, and it's my liberation and helping people to know that they too can be themselves is a part of what we do. So I guess that's a part of my motivation too, to let people know that they can be who they are without conforming to any specific something.
So my motivation is seeing our community restore. That's my motivation. Seeing not just our athletes, but our elders. That's the mission I am on. That is the full level of the research. To restore our elders, to bring our youth forward where they bring the power in, where they live within the power, where they walk with their ankhs, my sister. Walk with their keys of life. Know what that key really means, that it opens the two doors to life.
To have influence on those who are, I guess, not just looking at me, not following me, but respecting me. So if I have a path to follow, a path to go on, I can then have people say, oh, no, that's the path I would like to go on. When you ask about maybe intellectual scholars, and it's like, well, who did you follow? Who did you? It's a kind of a difficult question. But when I look at people's work, like Frantz Fanon's work as a black psychiatrist coming from France, I didn't come from France, I'm not a psychiatrist, but his work, Black Skin, White Mask, Toward the African Revolution, Dying Colonialism, his last book, Wretched of the Earth, man, what he did to change the world, that's a path. So for me, when we say motivation, hey, I study and learn, like we all should, because we don't stop learning. Now, how can I now find that path where I can continue to learn and impact others around me?
Yeah, my motivation is that I want to see Kemetic yoga become something that is very accessible to people, that whether they use the term Kemetic yoga or not, that people who practice yoga really start to understand what yoga really is, that it is not just flexibility or physical movements and posture that you do for fitness, that it is a spiritual practice. It is a practice for your whole inner self-development. And so my goal is to allow Kemetic yoga to become recognized around the world. So that's what I do.
Seek and you shall find the answer, the meaning, your purpose. Know that healing is intentional and starts from within. Healing yourself is a process. Intentionally allow yourself to be healed from within. Ground yourself. Feel the earth beneath you. Breathe in deeply. Exhale and release. Ground yourself. Become one with the almighty power. Align your mind, body, and spirit. Become free. Liberate your being. Breathe in balance, peace, and harmony. Allow yourself the opportunity to live and experience life in all of its fruits, from the tree